with the Galactic Roman update coming out soon, that being Mocha's banners at this point. I'm super late on this, I know. We're going to be getting a new 4-star in the upcoming banners. She's the head of the Skyfaring Commission on the Zhangzhou Luofu, who is a skilled pilot and expert marksman. Unfortunately, she's stuck doing paperwork nowadays. Introducing the god tier buffer herself, Yukong. My name is Just Top Deck, and today we'll be discussing Yukong's kit, add-on levels, build, and team recommendations, along with whether you should pull her or not. With the introduction out the way, let's begin. Yukong is a 4-star imagining Harmony who functions as a sub-DPS support. Unlike the other Harmony characters currently in the game, Yukong excels at dealing damage. In fact, her kit revolves around her dealing damage so much that everything she does serves as a way to buff the party of Nuke with imaginary damage. I don't know about you guys, but so far fluffy tail characters are superior? Fox girls are simply the best, it seems, no matter what universe, huh? Getting back to it, Yukong deals 50% imaginary damage at level 1 and 130% at level 9 to a single enemy with her basic attack. Moving on to one of the major parts of her kit, her skill. Yukong obtains 2 stacks of Roaring Bowstrings, so a maximum of 2 stacks. When Roaring Bowstrings is active, the attack of all allies increases by 40% at level 1 to a max of 100% at level 15, and every time an ally turns N, Yukong loses 1 stack of Roaring Bowstrings. When it's Yukong's turn to gain Roaring Bowstrings by using a skill, they will not be removed. So Yukong grants an attack buff for 2 allies in the turn order, and the stacks will be consumed regardless if that ally has attacked or not, once their turn ends. A stack of Roaring Bowstring will be used. It's an interesting ability where you have to think a bit of your team comp and the stats that you have in order to properly utilize her, but I'm sure that you beautiful people can do it. But this does frankly solidify her going first in all of your teams that she's on. However, next up is the other major part of her kit, her ultimate. Yukong shoots an arrow, unleashing her Divine Kestrel, which if Roaring Bowstrings is active on Yukong, all allies' crit rate additionally increases by 21% at level 1 to 31.5 at level 15, and crit damage increases by 39% at level 1 and 78% at level 15. At the same time, Yukong deals imaginary damage equal to 228% at level 1 to 456% at level 15 of her attack to a single enemy. Holy Jesus, those numbers are actually insane. The important thing to note is that her crit buffs are applied first, then she deals damage. Her damage from her ult secretly makes her a 5-star comparable to Seele or Yangxing. It's pretty funny how much she can actually do, but her ultimate is where she also shines. While deleting that enemy from the game's code, the crit buff that she applies to the team are not only a timed thing, but a perma buff for the duration of the battle. This buff can also help your characters reach their set bonuses if they haven't already. Her talent, 7 layers 1, makes it so that her basic attack additionally deals imaginary damage equal to 40% of Yukong's attack at level 1 and 100% at level 15, and increases the toughness reducing damage of this attack by 100%. This effect can only be triggered again in 1 turn. Last up are her traces. At Ascension 2, Yukong can resist 1 debuff application for 1 time. This effect can be triggered again in 2 turns. At Ascension 4, when Yukong is on the field, the imaginary damage of all allies increases by 12%. And at Ascension 6, when Roaring Bowstrings is active, Yukong regenerates 2 additional energy every time an ally takes action. All 3 of her traces are good and help smooth out her game plan, and constantly using her ult and survivability, so unlocking all 3 is important here. In terms of leveling order or unlocking order, I recommend leveling her ult first, then her skill, talent, and finally her basic attack. We don't know exactly which order her Eyelines are going to be in, but since she's a 4-star character, getting her to E6 will be realistic. In this case, you should think of her as E6 already. Regardless, my recommendations for her Eyelines are Zephian Echoes, as that boosts her damage by 30% while Roaring Bowstrings is active, Bowstring Thunderclap. When she ults, she will immediately gain 1 stack of Roaring Bowstrings, Skyward Command, When an ally's current energy is equal to its energy limit, Yukong regenerates an additional 5 energy, and this effect can only be triggered once for each ally. The trigger count is reset after Yukong casts her ultimate. Again, these are subject to change in terms of name and Eidolon order upon release, but these 3 are the ones I would suggest you aim for. On to builds and team recommendations. For Lycone recommendations, of course, 3-star Lycones I will always say no to, don't use them. For 4-star Lycones, there are a lot of options to choose from. Past and Future being the best one out of them, as it increases the next ally's damage by 16 to 32% at max position for 1 turn after the caster uses a skill. This works greatly with Yukong's Roaring Bowstring. Lastly, Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds is a Lycone that dishes out 3 buffs, crit damage, attack, or energy regen to all allies whenever the wearer turn comes around. It is a fun little card that can be used and can be treated as another buff that Yukong provides to the party. For 5-star Lycones, the battle isn't over. It will be, of course, her best in slot, as it does what Past and Future does, but simply better. I'm not too sure about the skill point gain, because she doesn't target an ally for her ult, but if the buff works like Bronya, then it should function the same way. Thinking about Relics, Yukong is an interesting character so far. She's a sub DPS buffer, but she herself can also deal massive damage. With that, what are some relics for her? I think a standard build would be a 2-piece Wildweed and 2-piece Wasteland. This combination gives her more attack and a flat damage increase, which in turn increases the buff that she gives. Another standard can be a 4-piece Break set if you want to build her more of a sub DPS. Here are some experimental combinations that I've been thinking of, right? Which is the 4-piece Quantum set, so she can ignore 10% of the enemy's defense. Another one would be 2-piece Break with the Imaginary set, or the Attack set. If we really want to lean into the fact that she's a sub DPS, I don't really know. That's what I've been thinking about. But in terms of player sets, this is really easy. Sprightly Vonwak will be your best in slot, as she could always benefit from more energy regen. For substats, you want speed, since her going first is almost mandatory or close to it, followed by attack, break effect arguably, and lastly, that will be your choice of HP or crit rate. For team compositions, since she's a buffering unit, Yukong can fit into many team comps. Again, it all depends on the current speeds of your characters to fully make use of her. You can of course go with a standard comp like Seele or any main DPS, Yukong, Natasha, or Bailu, and a sub DPS. Yukong herself, as I stated earlier, is an interesting character in which she can be used as a sub DPS unit instead due to her high percentages. So why not run a team like Seele or any main DPS, Locha, Yukong, and Bronya. You can even dump the horsemen onto a single DPS and watch them try to delete that enemy from the game's code, like what I intend to do with my team of Blade, Yukong, Tingyun, and Asta, since I don't have Bronya. That's another thing to note. Tingyun and Yukong work really well together, so keep that in mind. They both dish out pretty good basic attack. They both can help out with basic attack then, you know? And Yukong doesn't just have to be a buffer. She can double as a pretty solid sub DPS as well. Keep that in mind. I'm super excited to get my hands on a strong buffer like Yukong, and it's definitely not because I have a massive obsession with Fox Girls and Fluffy Tails. I definitely didn't have a 10-10-10 and P5 Tamamo back when I played FGO. But this was my overview and short guide on imaginary Fluffy Tails with an addiction for speeding. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See y'all next time with more Honkai with more Honkai Starrail content. Peace.